John Miller had no idea what he signed up for. He thought it would be a normal farm job, grow alien plants, feed livestock, maybe fix some machines. That's what the contract said when he applied for work on planet Virel 7. He needed money. And the pay was high, too high, actually. But he didn't ask questions. When the ship landed, 2 armored guards met him at the docking bay. One handed him a pair of thick gloves. The other tossed a large silver bucket into his arms without a word. "Room 49, the taller guard said coldly. "Don't talk to them unless they speak to you first." Before John could ask anything, the door slid shut behind him with a loud hiss. He stood alone in a long hallway, dim lights flickering above him. A soft humming came from deeper inside, almost like voices or breathing. He followed it, heart pounding, boots echoing on the cold floor. At the end of the hall was a heavy metal door with a keypad. As soon as he touched it, the door opened. With a quiet click, what he saw inside made him freeze. The room was warm, glowing with soft blue light. Inside were alien girls, 6 of them, sitting quietly on padded benches. Their skin was smooth and slightly shining, in shades of purple, pink, and deep blue. Each had large, glowing eyes and long, silky hair flowing down their backs. But what caught John's attention was their bodies. They all had large, swollen chests, clearly full and heavy. One of them, a girl with pale lilac skin, hugged herself tightly and looked at him with pleading eyes. Are you the new one?" she asked in a soft voice. John nodded slowly. "Yeah, I guess so. What is this place?" Another girl stood up and walked toward him. She was taller than the rest, with silver blue eyes that shimmered like ice. She reached for his hand and placed it gently on her chest. "We're not sick," she whispered. "We're full, always. Full, and we need your help." John pulled his hand back, confused. "Help how?" A small screen on the wall flickered on, showing an old training video. A robotic voice played. "Welcome, human technician. You are now assigned to milking. Chamber 49. The Virellian females in your care produce high-energy lactate continuously. Failure to relieve pressure may result in extreme discomfort or medical emergency. Begin immediately, use warmth, care, and precision." John's mouth went dry milking. That was the job. He looked back at the girls, some clutching their swollen chests, others breathing heavily. One of them, younger than the rest, was quietly crying. "Please," she said. "It hurts." He didn't know what to do, but something inside him, some instinct, pushed him forward. He walked over to the crying girl, knelt beside her, and asked gently, "What's your name?" "Lyra," she whispered, tears in her glowing pink eyes. "Okay, Lyra," he said. "I'll help you, but you'll have to show me how." She nodded and unzipped the front of her soft robe. Her chest was full, skin stretched tight, a faint glow pulsing underneath. John reached out with the gloves, but she stopped him. "No gloves," she said softly. "We need skin." Warmth. He took a deep breath, pulled the gloves off, and placed his hands carefully on her chest. It was hot to the touch, and as he gently applied pressure, a thick, glowing liquid began to flow into the bucket. It shimmered like stars, giving off a faint hum, like music. Lyra gasped, not from pain, but from relief. Tears rolled down her cheeks, and she whispered, "Thank you." John kept working, slowly, carefully. The other girls watched, eyes wide, one by one. They began to smile when the bucket was half full. Lyra sighed and leaned back. Her body finally relaxed. Her skin was glowing brighter now, and her breathing slowed. John stood up, shaken but steady. He looked around the room, at the waiting girls, at the soft light, at the locked door behind him. This was no ordinary farm job. This was something else, something deeper, stranger, more dangerous, but he also saw something else in their eyes, not fear, but hope. The screen flickered again, and the robotic voice returned. "Milking complete, 12%. Please proceed with next subject." John wiped his hands and turned to the others. "Well," he said quietly, "let's get to work." But deep inside, a question burned in his mind. Why were these girls always in a state of lactation? And why did it have to be a human to help them? He didn't know it yet, but this was just the beginning of something far bigger than he could imagine. John had been on Virel 7 for less than 2 days, but his hands already knew the shape of suffering. Every time he helped one of the alien girls, their glowing milk flowed out like liquid stars, warm, soft, and alive. It hummed faintly as it touched the bucket, as if carrying something deeper than just nutrients, something powerful. But the strangest moment came when he touched Lyra again. The next morning, her body felt hotter than before, and her chest pulsed with a quiet rhythm, almost like a second heartbeat. She winced as he began, but not from pain. "It's changing," she whispered. "Inside me." John paused. "What do you mean?" She held his hand to her chest, her skin glowing brighter. "Our bodies, they don't make just milk. We make life force. It grows with every cycle. But too much, and we burn from the inside out." John stared at her, shocked. Why didn't anyone say this before? Lyra looked away. "Because humans aren't supposed to care." Later that day, he carried the filled buckets down a narrow tunnel behind the chamber. The eye had told him to deliver the milk to storage room Delta, but when the sliding door opened, his heart nearly stopped. Inside were glass tanks, dozens of them, each filled with glowing alien milk. Above each tank were machines with tubes running down, injecting the milk into strange-looking seeds. Some floated, pulsing softly like tiny embryos. A monitor blinked to life. Energy lactate sample. Type V9. Status: DNA binding confirmed. Mutation process: 45%. Mutation? John stepped back, his thoughts spinning. Was this milk being used to change something? To grow something new? Suddenly, he heard footsteps. He ducked behind one of the large tanks as a man walked in tall, sharp-faced, wearing a clean uniform. He looked human but carried himself like a military officer. The man typed the code into the monitor and said aloud, "Increase harvest from chamber 49. The subject Lyra is producing at 200% capacity. Accelerate fusion." John's eyes widened. "They're tracking her specifically." He waited until the man left, then slipped out and returned to the milking chamber. His hands were shaking, his heart raced. Lyra was sitting quietly with the others, her robe wrapped tightly around her. She looked up when she saw him. "What's wrong?" she asked. John sat beside her and spoke softly. "They're not storing your milk. They're changing things with it. Your milk is altering DNA, mutating something in tanks." The girls grew silent, eyes wide, breath held. Neela, the silver-eyed one, stood up quickly. "It's starting again," she whispered. "Just like last time." John looked at her. "What do you mean, again?" Neela walked to the center of the room, her voice trembling. "Years ago, they brought human soldiers here, told them they were protecting the colony. Then they made us feed them. Our milk changed them, made them stronger, faster but unstable. They became monsters." John felt cold. "So that's what they're doing again? Using you like machines?" Lyra nodded, her eyes wet. "They don't see us as people, just power sources." John clenched his fists. "This isn't right." But Nyla walked up to him and stared deep into his eyes. "Then help us, John Miller. Not just with your hands, but with your heart." He looked around at the 6 of them, each tired, each glowing faintly, each still alive. Something inside him clicked. This wasn't just a job anymore. This was a trap, and he was now in the middle of it. But maybe, just maybe, he could break it. That night, while the guards slept outside and the system ran on auto, John connected to the main terminal inside the chamber. It was dangerous. Unauthorized access could lead to arrest. But he had to know. Lines of data scrolled across the screen. His eyes caught one section. Subject type: Virellian female, milk compound V9. Properties: DNA reactive, accelerates cellular regeneration, alters host genome within 72 hours. He froze. Regeneration. Altered genomes? This wasn't farming. This was weapon development, and he was part of it now. Or maybe he could be the one to stop it. He turned to look at Lyra and the others resting quietly. He had a choice to make, and time was running out. John had never planned to be a hero. He was just a man who needed a paycheck. But now he stood at the edge of something terrifying, something buried under the ground of Virel 7, hidden from both Earth and the stars, and it all began with a sound. Soft tapping behind the milking chamber wall. It happened late at night, just as Lyra fell asleep in his arms, her body still glowing faintly after another painful release. The others were dozing too, safe for now. But the tapping didn't stop. It was quiet, like fingers against steel, then a click. John stood up and followed the noise to the far wall. There, he saw a panel small, square, nearly invisible. He pressed it. It popped open. Behind it was a narrow shaft and a steel ladder descending into darkness. He looked back once at the sleeping girls, then climbed down. The air changed as he descended. It grew colder, drier. A hum filled the air, not like machines, but alive like breathing metal at the bottom of the shaft. He stepped into a hallway glowing with deep red light. On the door ahead, glowing letters read, GenLab, Level 5 access only. He shouldn't be here. But he had to know what they were hiding. The door opened with a hiss, recognizing his presence as authorized staff. What he saw inside made his stomach twist. Rows and rows of large glass tanks, each one filled with liquid and floating forms, humanoid shapes, half-formed, some with human faces, and others with glowing alien features. They were hybrids, and they were alive. One tank pulsed suddenly, the creature inside twitching. Then its eyes opened, and they were Lyra's eyes. John stumbled back, heart pounding. He checked the screen. Connected to the tank, subject, X214. DNA fusion rate, 88%. Human donor, unknown Virellian donor. Lyra growth status, accelerated clone. They were cloning the girls using their milk and mixing it with human DNA. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed down the hall. John ducked behind a console as two scientists entered the lab, one carrying a data pad. Another one's reaching stability, said the man. If this works, we'll have soldiers that regenerate and obey. No hunger, no fear, the woman replied. And all it costs is one milker and a few alien girls. We're already halfway to building an army. John's blood turned to ice. This was it. The real project behind the milking job, an army of hybrid clones, powered by alien lactation. Made to look human, but stronger, faster, and completely controlled. He had to get out. But as he turned to leave, an alarm beeped. Access detected. Chamber 49. They knew he was here. John ran, heart thudding in his ears. He climbed the shaft faster than he thought possible and sealed the panel behind him. Just as the hallway door burst open below, he rushed back into the chamber, waking the girls in a panic. We need to leave, he gasped. Now they're using your milk to build something. Monsters with your DNA. Nyla stood up, angry and afraid. We warned them before, and they still do it. They want to become gods, but they'll become devils. Lyra whispered, holding her chest again, glowing brighter than ever. And they'll burn every world trying. John looked around at the locked doors, the robotic guards outside, and the system watching their every move. Escape wouldn't be easy, but deep inside him, he knew something had changed. The milk he'd touched. It had touched him too, and now his own body was reacting. He felt stronger, faster, like something inside him was waking up. Whatever was happening, it was too late to turn back. The only way forward was through the storm, and John Miller was ready to burn the whole hidden facility down if it meant saving them. The chamber wasn't quiet anymore. The girls had heard enough. John's breathless warning echoed in their hearts, and something inside them snapped. Not fear, not sadness. Rage. Lyra stood first, her robe half loose, skin glowing hot like a soft lantern. Then Nyla, her eyes colder than steel, clenched her fists. And for the first time John saw the truth. They were never weak. They were held back. They want our milk, Nyla said, voice shaking. But they fear our power. She looked around at the other girls and whispered, "We've bled enough for them." Then she turned to John. "You said they're cloning us?" John nodded. "Yes, with human DNA, building soldiers. Monsters." Nyla closed her eyes, a spark of energy lighting her palms. "They think we exist to serve," she said. "Let's remind them who we really are." That night, they began. The Rebellion, Step 1. Disable the surveillance. The camera above the chamber door blinked out after Lyra focused a beam of heat from her chest. It wasn't fire, but pure plasma, like her milk converted into light. John stared in shock. "You never told me you could do that." She looked at him sadly. "We're not allowed to use our gifts. Unless we're breaking." Step 2. Lure the guards in. Nyla faked a collapse, crying out in pain when the guards rushed in, expecting a helpless alien girl. They were met with glowing fists and a blast of burning milk straight to the face. Guards never stood a chance. In seconds, the chamber was theirs. For the first time since arriving on Virel 7, the girls stood without chains, free, but not safe. "We don't have long," John said, locking the door behind them. "They'll send reinforcements." Lyra turned to him. "There's another way out, one the humans forgot." She pressed her hand against a strange part of the chamber wall, and a section melted, revealing a spiraling tunnel lit by alien crystals. "This was built by our mothers," she said, "long before the humans came." The tunnel led them deeper underground away from human tech and into Virellian ground. John felt the air grow warmer, heavier. He looked at the walls, they pulsed. With the same glow as the girl's skin, alive, they entered a massive cavern. And what John saw took his breath away. There were hundreds of cocoons lining the walls. Each one held a Virellian girl sleeping, glowing, waiting. "This is our cradle," Nyla said, voice soft now. "Where the rest of us sleep until it's safe to wake." John's voice cracked. "They never told anyone this existed." Of course not," Lyra said bitterly, "because they would have turned this into another farm." Then, a deep hum echoed through the cavern. The sleeping girls began to stir. "We need to go," Nyla warned. "If they wake too early, the milk will consume them." Rage without balance. But John had another idea. "What if we wake just one more?" He turned to Lyra. "One who can protect the others while we fight above." Lyra hesitated, then nodded. She walked to one of the largest cocoons and placed her hand on it, singing softly in her native tongue. The cocoon glowed. Then opened. Out stepped a tall, powerful figure, her skin a deep violet, her eyes pure gold, older than the others, stronger. She looked down at John and spoke in a voice that rumbled like thunder. "You're the one who touched the source," she said. "You carry our energy inside you now." John felt something inside him shift. The milk had changed him more than he realized. She turned to the others. "I will guard the cradle, but go burn the machine that stole from us." Back in the upper levels, alarms blared. Soldiers rushed toward Chamber 49, ready to destroy whatever subject escape they detected. But they didn't find scared girls. They found warriors, glowing with energy. The first soldier raised his weapon, but Nyla blasted it with a beam of plasma, melting it mid-air. The others followed, tearing through the corridors like streaks of fire and light. And John? He felt his body moving faster than ever before. His heartbeat matched the rhythm of the girls around him. He wasn't just helping them anymore. He was becoming one of them. The flames of rebellion lit the facility's halls, but deep inside, John Miller carried a quieter fire, one born from confusion, change, and something else growing inside him. He wasn't just stronger now. He could feel things, vibrations in the walls, heartbeats through steel, and his hands. They weren't just human hands anymore. After escaping the lab floor with Lyra and Nyla, John guided them through a hidden airshaft that led to the old files sector, a forgotten archive once used for internal reports. This place used to have Other milkers, Nyla said quietly. Before you, John paused. How many? Just one, she replied. He didn't last long. They found the old milker's locker buried under dust and sealed with a faded nameplate. Technician Marcus. J. Reevjohn pried it open. Inside was a torn uniform, a shattered communicator, and a black leather journal. He opened the first page. Day 1. I thought I was helping them. But the milk helped me first. The deeper John read, the more the horror grew. Marcus had come just like him, thinking he'd signed up for a high-paying farming job, but over time, the milk changed him too. His words turned wild by day 10. It's not just nourishment. It's living data, coded emotion, history, memory, passed through their milk. By day 15, Marcus wrote, I see visions now. The first mothers, the wars, the burning stars, things no human should remember. And then, day 17, I tasted it, the milk, just a drop. And now I'm not just seeing. Through them, I am them. John's hands trembled. He remembered the glowing milk that spilled on his skin during the first week, the way his wounds healed faster, the way his body now moved like it had a second rhythm. He looked at Lyra. You knew this, didn't you? She didn't deny it. You've changed, she said gently. And we knew it would happen. That's why they choose humans like you, quiet, kind, open. The milk reads your soul. John backed away. So, I'm not human anymore? Lyra stepped forward, took his hand, and placed it against her chest. You are still you. But now you carry us inside too. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the hallway. The alarm system screeched. Containment breach in sub-level 3. Hybrid units. Activating. John's heart sank. He turned to Nyla. What hybrids? Her face turned pale. The ones they made from our milk. They weren't ready, Lyra whispered. They'll be unstable. Rushing through the corridor, they arrived at a shattered wall revealing the lab below. Dozens of tanks were broken. Liquid milk spilled across the floor, and crawling from it twisted figures, part human, part Virellian, eyes glowing wildly. One looked straight at John and hissed, Father. John froze. It had his DNA. He was the donor. No, he whispered, backing away. They used me too. Nyla threw a glowing spear of energy into the creature's chest before it could leap. It screamed, then dissolved into sparks. You didn't choose this, she said. They forced it on you. But the hybrids kept coming wild, hungry, confused, their minds broken by incomplete genes. They attacked everything, walls, wires, even each other. John and the girls fought through them, glowing plasma against corrupted clones. But deep inside, John knew this wouldn't stop unless he burned the entire project down forever. Back in the archive room, John returned to the last page of Marcus's journal. It read, There's a main core. Level 0. Destroy that, and it all ends. But no one ever comes back from there. John stood up, breath steady, fire in his eyes. I'm going, he said. To level 0. Lyra grabbed his arm. It'll kill you. John looked down at his glowing hands. Maybe, he said. But if I stay like this, maybe I'm already gone. John Miller had crossed many lines since arriving on Virel 7, but now he was heading into the one place no human or Virellian was ever meant to go, level 0. The elevator didn't have buttons. It scanned his glowing hand and accepted him without question. Whatever he was now, the system saw him as part of the project, or maybe part of the design. As the lift dropped into the earth, walls of shifting light passed by, shapes, symbols, flashes of DNA strings, and one strange sentence repeated again and again on the glass. The first milker was not human. John's blood turned cold. What did that mean? The doors slid open, revealing level 0. No guards, no machines, just silence, and a deep hum that felt like it came from the bones of the planet. He stepped forward, finding himself in a vast white chamber. At its center floated a glowing sphere of light pulsing slowly, like a heart. Inside it were images of stars, alien faces, and at the very core, a human woman, surrounded by Virellian children. John stepped closer. A voice echoed not aloud, but directly into his mind. "You have come home," he gasped and stumbled back. What are you?" "We are memory," the voice replied, calm and warm. "And we are blood." Suddenly the sphere flickered and showed him everything. Thousands of years ago, before Earth had its first cities, a single human woman crashed on Virel 7. She was a medic, a scientist, a caretaker. She found dying alien infants, motherless, starving, and her body adapted. It began to produce what they needed: nourishment, warmth, milk, and her DNA fused with theirs, not by force, but by love. She became their first mother, their first milker. Her genes passed through generations, creating the Virellians as they existed now, beautiful, glowing, always producing, always needing. John's knees gave out. "So, you're saying humans didn't create Virellians?" "No," the voice said gently. "Virellians are part human. And you, John Miller, are the first in centuries to match her blood." John fell silent. The changes in his body, the visions, the way the milk had welcomed him, it all made sense now. He wasn't just a worker. He was descended from the source. And now the core wanted to finish what she began. "Will you become the bridge again?" the voice asked. "Will you balance our bloodlines and end the cycle of pain?" John stood slowly. He felt no fear anymore, only understanding. He touched the sphere. Light exploded. Meanwhile, back in the upper levels, chaos spread like fire. The hybrids, unstable and twisted, were escaping the broken labs. Neela, Lyra, and the other girls fought bravely, glowing with rage and power, but they were being pushed back. "We can't hold them much longer," one girl shouted. Lyra clutched her chest. It glowed so brightly now. It burned. "We need John," she whispered. "He's the key then." The floor shook. A beam of golden light tore through the ceiling, and from that light, John rose, but he didn't look like the man they knew. His eyes now glowed with the same hue as Lyra's. Strands of golden markings crawled across his skin, pulsing with each heartbeat, and around him floated glowing sparks of milk energy, like armor made of light. "John?" Lyra gasped. He looked at her, smiling gently. "Not just John anymore. I'm what we were always meant to become." He raised one hand. The hybrids stopped mid-attack, frozen. John stepped forward and whispered a single word in the ancient Virellian tongue: "Peace." And the twisted beings collapsed, not in pain but in silence, fading into dust. Their unstable forms dissolved by his will. The battle was over, but a new path had begun. John Miller stood in the ruins of the facility. His body glowed like a second sun. Around him, silence. No more alarms, no more screaming, just peace. For the first time since arriving on Virel 7, the girls were safe. The hybrids had vanished, dissolved by his touch, not destroyed, but set free from their twisted half-lives. And the Virellian girls stood behind him, watching not just a man, but a being born from both their worlds. Nyla whispered, "Is he still human?" Lyra stepped forward, heart pounding. "Maybe he's something better." In the soft evening glow, the cradle cavern pulsed gently again. More of the sleeping Virellians were waking now, their eyes opening, chests glowing softly, but none of them looked afraid. They looked at John with wonder, like a lost child seeing their father for the first time, because in a way, that's what he was now. He carried the original code within him. The same blood as the first human mother who saved their race long ago, and now her descendant had saved them again. Later, near the old escape ship dock, Lyra walked with John. Under a sky full of stars, Earth was only a few jumps away. The communication beacon was still intact. He could call for a shuttle. He could leave, go back to his old life, try to be normal again. But what even was normal now? Lyra broke the silence. "If you leave, we won't stop you," she said, her voice steady but heavy. You've done more than anyone ever did. You gave us back our future." John looked at her. Her face still shimmered in the starlight, her soft skin glowing faintly. But it wasn't just her beauty that made him hesitate. It was the bond, the silent connection that had grown between them, not just through touch, not just through milk, but through trust, and something deeper. Back on Earth, he said slowly, I was nobody, just a man forgotten by everyone. But here, he looked out across the hills glowing with Virellian life. I matter. Lyra's eyes glistened. You belong, the beacon chimed softly. Earth shuttle inbound in 7 minutes, it said in a flat voice. John stared at the blinking light. A one-way ride back home, no return. He turned to Lyra, his heart thudding. If I stay, what am I? You're not one of us, she whispered. But you're not fully human anymore either. Then what am I? She smiled, and her eyes shimmered with warmth. You're the bridge, she said, between past and future. Between species, between hearts. The girls stood behind her now, Nyla, the others, even the newly awakened. They weren't slaves anymore. They weren't weapons. They were daughters of stars, and John had become their voice, their shield, their family. He walked toward the beacon, paused, then he did something none of them expected. He reached into the console and turned it off. The light died. The shuttle request was canceled. The skies above remained quiet. Earth would never come. He turned back to them and said softly, I'm already home. That night they lit no fire. The warmth of their bodies, their glow, their presence, it was enough. Lyra curled beside him, head on his shoulder, her body no longer overfull or in pain, just peaceful. And John? He closed his eyes, not as a farmer, not as a soldier, not even as a man, but as something new, something beautiful, something born from kindness and sacrifice, and somewhere deep in the stars, the memory of the first mother. Smiled.